You're watching Detroit's own WHPR TV. Detroit Live.
Hi, this is Brenda Perryman, and you can watch me 24 hours a day, 7 days a week on the WHPR TV Now app. Download our free app at WHPR TV Now.
Fridays at 9 a.m. and 10 a.m. Eastern.
Good morning, and welcome to the Brenda Perryman Show right here on TV 33, WHPR, Comcast 91 in Detroit, or I think it's 90 in Detroit. It's one of those two, and all over the world, courtesy of the World Wide Web. Of course, we're on every platform that you could imagine. Alexa, just name it, we're on it. We have the WHPR TV Now app. Also, I have a great show for you this morning, and what I like best, and you all know me, that I love young people. Well, this young lady that I'm going to introduce to you just surpasses some of my dreams. This is Catrielle Tolan. Good morning.
Good morning.
How are you?
Thank you. I'm great. Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Oh, I am so excited. This young lady has written a book called It's Not a Big Deal, but It Feels Like One. And that's true. And it's about mental illness. And rarely do you find young people who write books on mental illness, especially so young, and so comprehensive of a book. Not only did she write it, she did the illustrations to it also. So let's talk a little bit about you, your background, and so forth. Not that your background goes too many years back, but Congratulations on your graduation.
Thank you. Yes, so I just graduated from University Liggett School in Grosse Pointe. It's a pretty small school. How
many students are in that school?
In my grade, I believe there were 64 graduating people in my class.
Wow, you
so
beat
pretty
me.
small.
There were only 71 in mine.
Yeah.
I understand that small class.
Yeah, we're really small, so not very many people know about it. But in a few weeks, I'll be moving to New York to go to Columbia University, so I'm pretty excited about that.
Congratulations. So, how was your high school experience?
Oh, I loved my high school. I mean, it took a lot of work to get into my high school because it's a relatively selective, small private school. So I did a program in middle school that helped me get into it. But it's something. I mean, you went to a small school, so you know going to a small school is really unique. And so it's something that I definitely took advantage of because it was really helpful to get me to where I am now.
Did you ever, while you were there, say, "God, I wish I was at the big school"?
No. Never.
Oh,
never, ever.
I remember I used to say, I wish I could go to Cass. I wish I was going to, but it was a little school.
Yeah.
And the total population in the school was 300. Mm-hmm. So, but I liked it. I really
liked going to a small
school. Well, that's good. And then you get to know your teachers better.
Mm-hmm, definitely.
And they get to know who you are.
Mm-hmm, for sure.
You're not just a number.
Right. I have a lot of close relationships, even still now that I've graduated, with my teachers. I talk to them all the time. I hang out with them outside of school all the time. So.
Yes. Well, this book impressed me so much.
Thank you.
What made you decide to write a book on mental illness? And have you always been an artist?
No, I haven't always been an artist. I started doing art my junior year because I decided to take an advanced art class, and that's when I got really serious about it. My older brother was always the artist in our family, so it's kind of new for me. But the reason why I decided to write the book is my school has a program called the ARP program, which is the Academic Research Program. And so pretty much all 4 years that you're there, you're kind of building up for this senior project, sort of. It's a little bit more intensive than a normal senior project, but I knew that I wanted to write a book for the project just because there's a lot of resources and you get a lot of time to really, explore any topic that you want to. They encourage you to make something that doesn't already exist or explore a topic that hasn't already created an academic conversation about. So I knew that I wanted to write a book just because it would be the perfect opportunity to do something that I've really dreamed about my entire life. I've always wanted to be an author in some way. So I knew I was going to write a book. The reason why I chose mental health is because at the time that I was starting the actual development of my question, I had been going through mental health issues myself, and I had been seeing, how my peers who were going through mental health issues were really having a hard time, especially my African American friends, just because it's very different for us than it is for other cultures. We have a really big mental health stigma in the Black community, and so I wanted to write something that would be able to, really comprehensively discuss that, especially for younger audiences.
Well, what about the genesis, the reason why you were going through these illnesses? I mean, this, cycle. Wait, did you want to talk about that a
Sure,
little?
I can talk about it a little bit. The really what, incited the whole, I would call it sort of like a breaking down, I guess. What really made me go through the worst time was I had lost a really close relationship, one of the closest relationships I had ever had. And it was really hard for me, and I hadn't developed any proper coping mechanisms before this instance came around. So I really had to sort of rebuild, what would be a proper, response to something like this happening, because obviously heartbreak is something everyone goes through in their life. So,
well, with young people, so many things are first.
Yeah.
This the first heartbreak, the first
Yes,
this,
definitely.
the first that. And so knowing how to cope with it or mainly understanding
right,
it
yeah.
is something that you're just delving into. So how did you feel
How did I feel like
when this happened? What did it have you do? Did you go into seclusion? Did you stop talking? How did it
think-
manifest itself?
Initially, it was a lot of isolation, a lot of like not talking to my other friends. I think I don't really know how I would describe the feeling. It was just a lot of despair, definitely depression, definitely feeling anxious.
Okay.
Just I was not feeling like my normal self. I felt like everything that I had previously known was just completely different, and I just didn't really know how to be myself anymore.
So you came out of it. How did you come out of it?
How did I come out of this?
The depression.
Yeah, so I had to see, help, professional help, and I advocate 100% for therapy. Everyone should go see a therapist, like, even if you're not in the thick of things, just being able to get, a complete awareness of what works for you and having someone to talk to about issues that you may not feel comfortable talking to other people. So I completely advocate that. But yeah, so I sought professional help. My parents were really supportive.
And that's very important. Your parents were supportive.
Yes, for sure.
And that made a big difference, didn't it?
Yeah, a big
because you
difference.
didn't have to totally hide everything from them.
Right. I mean, my parents recognized pretty much immediately once I started, kind of retreating into myself that it was happening, and they were definitely very active in trying to see what was going wrong, what I thought would be important, to best prepare myself to get out of the situation that I was in. So they were like very involved the entire time, for sure.
So how long did it take you to kind of come back to yourself?
I wouldn't really say it was like a specific amount of time. I mean, even still
was
now,
gradual.
it's definitely gradual.
Yes.
So at the beginning of it, it was like really bad, where like I would have to spend times where I, really couldn't be around people that I had cared about my entire life. Like it was really, really bad for months. But, just eventually as you keep going on, it just stopped being as hard. I think time is definitely a healer. So, as time goes on, it definitely got easier. But again, it's always going.
What I like about the book is how you broke it down, and your illustrations are so symbolic, very, very symbolic. But you start off with what you were dealing with is depression.
Right.
And you have what is anxiety and depression. And with each of her chapters, she talks about, like, for example, why is there a stigma? She explains what stigma is with depression. What is depression? A lot of people, times we don't know we're going through things.
Right.
And this is geared for, you say, middle school?
Middle school, but
high
really-
school,
High
too.
school for sure. I mean,
High
anyone.
school, anyone.
Anyone
In
can
fact,
pick it up,
I
for
was
sure.
up here learning. I said,
Yeah.
oh, yeah, this is
Definitely.
right. This is right. And so with depression, for example, tell the audience what depression is.
Depression can really take take a lot of different forms. Traditionally, it would be when someone's feeling like feelings of despair, when they're feeling, not like themselves over a long period of time, if you're feeling sad, if you're feeling anxious over a long period of time. So obviously everyone goes through feelings of getting depressed. That's just a normal human thing to feel sadness or deep sadness. But depression, like clinical depression, would be something that lasts for a long period of time. So if you feel like you can't get out of bed, if you feel like, normal daily activities are really hard for you because you're feeling so sad, that would really be seen as depression.
Right. Now, in our community, the African American community, there's a stigma, or has been. We're kind of coming out of it a little, but not fast enough, in my opinion.
Oh, yeah.
But we have this stigma associated with getting help, seeking help with mental illness. Why do you think that is?
So a large reason that we have such a stigma in our community specifically is that we're a community that's, had to go through a lot of hardships just in general historically, with slavery, the civil rights movement. We've had to go through a lot as a community, and through that we've portrayed ourselves as very strong-willed people, which is a great thing. Like, that's wonderful, but it's created this burden for people who are going through difficult things that feel like they can't talk, or like if they were to be honest about how they're feeling, that people would judge them and see them as weak. And then also we have a very deep-seated religious, aspect to our community. So, there's always phrases like prayed away. So people are encouraged to just use religion as a coping mechanism solely, instead of, seeing professional help, which religion always can be a helpful thing, but just as equally can be a harmful thing depending on how you use it. So that's a big developer.
Well, because, too, with a lot of mental illness, it comes to a point where you hit a wall and you don't know where to go.
Right.
Sometimes you need to sit down and talk to that objective person who
For
can
sure.
who's outside of your realm.
Yes, especially people who are trained, to recognize these symptoms and tell you exactly what will work best for you as an individual. Therapists, it doesn't even have to be therapists. If you're in school, counselors are there for you to help. Like, you can just really, speaking to anyone that is not yourself, that's not inside your head, that can see things from a different point of view, can always be helpful.
Absolutely. Now, coping. Let's talk a little about coping. A lot
Sure.
of people, well, tell the audience what coping is first, and we'll talk about it.
So coping takes lots of different forms, and it's really a technique or mechanism that one uses to make themselves feel better when they're in a difficult situation. So anything that makes you
Now,
feel
there could
better.
be good coping and
There
not
can be
so
bad
good.
coping.
Right,
Absolutely,
coping.
yes.
So let's talk about some of the good or positive coping skills.
Right, so positive coping skills would be reaching out to people. It could be exercise. That's a really great way to start feeling better. Seeking professional help is a great way to, have a positive coping mechanism. Journaling can be a positive coping mechanism. Really anything that is, promoting your growth with your mental health versus regressing. And then a bad coping mechanism would be anything that is keeping you in the place that you're in. So it may temporarily make you feel better.
Like,
temporarily.
for example, I used this earlier, I'm going to drink it out.
Right, yeah,
Drink it, or getting high, or even eating.
Yeah,
A
eating
lot of people
definitely.
go-
Overeating can
Yes.
definitely be a coping or a really detrimental coping
You know,
mechanism.
it's funny. Sometimes when I get disturbed about something, I say, God, I need some candy. Let me go. I will go.
I mean, a little
Put,
candy's not too bad.
well, that's a little candy.
Right.
But I mean, you shouldn't eat the bag. But yes, different ways that you cope, and they're not always good.
Mm-hmm.
And then I want to get back real quick. I should have talked about this earlier when we talked about the African American community and what people say, you know, to do. Even there have been people with good college educations or very wise who'll tell you just snap out of it, you know, just snap out of it.
Right.
And it's just not so easy. So sometimes people walk around wearing a mask. We talked about that, didn't we?
Yes, we did. Anyone, literally anybody, can be going through tough issues. They can be going through a mental, hard time. Anyone. Just because someone's not showing it on the outside doesn't mean they're not going through it on the inside. And like you said, lots of people go through problems where if they do reach out, people are not very receptive to it. And so they'll tell them like, oh, it's not a big deal. Like, you probably aren't sad. You just have to go exercise. You just have to go like hang out with people that you care about and it'll all be fine. But really, like, that doesn't always help people. And the only way that you can help people is just to tell them, what you're going through is valid, and we just want to support you in whatever way that we can.
Okay, absolutely. And but my parents don't understand.
Yes.
That talk about that chapter.
So, because the book was targeted towards middle schoolers, a large reason why I wanted to target middle schoolers is that obviously when you're in middle school, you don't always feel comfortable talking to your parents about everything just because you're kind of going through the phase where you want more independence. So, I wanted to write about, like, if your parents don't understand what you're going through, it's not your responsibility to educate them on what you're going through, because it's really more of a burden to try and teach your parents, to understand and to empathize with you, and that there are other outlets for getting the help if your parents can't provide that for you. So like teachers, guidance counselors, your friends, you can use the internet now. Social media is a great way to find help and find people that are going through similar issues. So I just want to talk about that.
Right, right. Well, speaking of parents, I want her dad to come up here. He's in the studio, and we want to talk about how he and his wife, her mother, dealt with a daughter who was depressed. We'll be back in just a moment.
You're watching Detroit's own WHPR TV. Detroit Live.
Hi, this is Brenda Perryman, and you can watch me 24 hours a day, 7 days a week on the WHPR TV Now app. Download our free app at WHPR TV Now.
Fridays at 9 a.m. and 10 a.m. Eastern.
We are back with Mr. Lee Tolan, or Leongo Tolan. He and his daughter, Catriel. And Catriel wrote the book, It's Not a Big Deal, but It Feels Like One. And Lee, good morning.
Good morning. How are you doing today?
Oh, I'm doing fine. Tell me, when did you discover that Catriel was having issues?
So I don't know if I could say I remember a specific time. I did notice, though, that she was different in regards to how she related. Like, our family is really close. She was not participating in family events as much, not, socializing with her brother and sister as much. And, me and her mom noticed that was a little bit odd. And then her and her mom have a closer relationship, so then she started to verbalize to my wife some of the challenges that she was having.
So how did you all initiate a discussion with the three of you, as far as the three of you are concerned?
I don't know that there was like
A
a
little louder.
specific moment. I mean, we definitely talked about it in terms of me getting help for
Yeah,
sure.
I mean, one of the first things when it was conscious awareness that there was an issue. It was like, okay, well, what do you need? You know, do you
definitely.
need to go see a therapist? You want to see, you know, Pat, whatever, like whatever you
Well,
need.
you brought up
know.
something earlier, how you were like a youth leader at church,
Yes.
and you figured you'll be able to deal with your own
Yes,
kids
so
because
it
you were so
was-
good with others.
It was a challenge for me personally because I was a youth pastor for 15 years, and during the 15 years, I was on the other side of this where, you know, parents that had challenges with their kids would talk to me really easy. I would be able to connect with them. So it's like, okay, my daughter's going through things. It should be super easy for me to be able to relate and help her through this, and it was not. I was not the person to be able to walk her through this journey like at all. So it was hard for me because one, as a father, two, having experience with it, you know, I felt like, hey, I'm equipped somewhat to be able to guide her through this, but I did not have the answers. I did not have the things that she needed. So I had to step back and watch others and allow others to do that and be comfortable with that. So, and I'm not saying it was easy. I'm not saying that I even wanted to do it, but I realized that that was not really my place or time.
Well, when did you first discover that she was coming out of it?
She started engaging, you know, again with her brother and her sister more, with the family more, even with her friends, engaging in activities and things with them more. So it was a very distinct difference in regards to just her affect, you know, seeming a lot more happier than she was before.
So, when she started writing the book and when she finished the book, what did you feel? How
Oh, I
did-
mean, super proud. Like, man, like, you know, this is all her doing. You know, she wrote it, she illustrated it, she got the clinical resources from
Yes.
her psychologist. So she did this all on her own, and it's the amazing thing for me as a parent and her dad with this is. So I have a music background as well. So doing music, writing a book, like I didn't. My music, my book, I would give it away. Like I just wanted it to be out. I wanted people to be able to have the resource, and
Right.
that was her heart too. She didn't write this to make money. She didn't write this to
Right.
become famous. It was like, hey man, I had this issue. Like you know, I want other kids who had this issue as well to realize these are things that you should be able to you have at your disposal to be able to get help. So
Absolutely. And you can find this book on Amazon.com and where else?
It's mostly on Amazon right now.
Mostly on Amazon, and it is wonderful. It's not a big deal, but it seems like one. But it does. How many times have you thought you? Well, no, you're young yet. But there's times when I said, "Oh, I don't know if I can make it through this," but you can. But you sometimes you need help, and it's not. It's not bad to want help and to seek help and to get help. It is a good thing because sometimes you have to go beyond your environment
Yes,
to seek the help of someone who's more objective, someone who's been been trained, as you said. Right.
that's
So-
a challenge. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, but that's a challenge. I think you know. Again, stigmatized wise in the African American community is we want to keep things in home. We don't want to be embarrassed. We don't want people to know our business.
Yeah.
And it's like, hey, you know, whoever can help my child get better, that's who my child needs to see.
Absolutely. I remember one day coming through my family room, and my daughter was sitting up there, and she was just sitting on the couch, and she was just looking so sad and everything. And I said, "Courtney, what's wrong?" And she said, "Nothing." I said, "Something has to be wrong." It ends up it wasn't, but it seemed like it. But I wrote a poem called As Your Mother. And it goes, as your mother, I wish I could cry your tears, you know, or that I can experience your first heartache so you don't feel like you're dying inside. Because our kids go through these first, as you went through first, you know, disappointments and so forth. And as a parent, we really want to be able to do this for them. But because we are their parents, we got to teach them to the best we can, right? And then of course, you've taught her something very good. You and your wife have taught her something very good. I want to shout out to her too. You that you can seek help, you can get help. You know, don't ever think something's not solvable.
So it was really, and when she was going through this, so since she was 13, her dream has been to attend Columbia University.
Right.
And when she was going through this, that was part of the motivation for me for her was, hey, if you're saying you want to go to Columbia University, you're going to be in New York City where the city will eat you up. I will not allow you to go if you can't figure this out. I might not have the answers, you may not have the answers, but we got to come to some kind of consensus on how this is going to work out, because if something like this happens and you're in New York, like I just can't imagine like what will happen, especially not being able to be there. So
Right, absolutely. And you are going to Columbia.
Yes, I
And
am.
that is so exciting.
Yes,
You know,
very
isn't it
exciting.
nice to see dreams come true? It's
That's
wonderful.
definitely what it is.
Well, congratulations, Catrielle.
Thank you,
And
thank you.
congratulations to you
thank you.
and
thank
your
you.
wife, because you've come through a hurdle. That's a hurdle, you know, and continue to, you know, a lot of times I always tell people that it's so easy. One of the coping skills that people do, they lie to themselves. You have to be honest with
Oh,
yourself
for sure, yeah.
and what you're feeling. So I'd like to keep up with you. And after that first year, if you decide to come back to town to visit us,
We'll see.
I'd love to have you come back. And I know you're going to write more.
Yes, I intend to, for sure.
And she made the newspaper. So proud of our young people.
Thank you.
Catrielle Tolan. It's not a big deal, but it feels like one on Amazon.com. We'll be back in just a moment with Elizabeth Mays.
You're watching Detroit's own WHPR TV. Detroit Live.
Hi, this is Brenda Perryman, and you can watch me 24 hours a day, 7 days a week on the WHPR TV Now app. Download our free app at WHPR TV Now.
Fridays at 9 a.m. and 10 a.m. Eastern. TV 33 is moving to WHPS TV channel 15.2. Make sure to rescan the channels on your TV. Then go to WHPS channel 15.2 to pick up TV 33 and all of your favorite shows. The move is on, and we want you to move with us to WHPS channel 15.2.
I am back with one of my favorite people, Elizabeth Mays, the CEO of, she's a CEO of Mays Multimedia, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Which used to be Mays Printing,
Correct.
and you changed the name to make it
More diverse. To
more
make it
diverse because you do a lot of different things now,
Oh,
right?
absolutely.
And so let's get a little background on you again. You graduated from?
Mumford High School, and then finished there. Went to Western Michigan University, and then when while I was in college, I studied film, and then I also studied engineering, graphic, and printing sciences. So while I was in school, my father told me, Elizabeth, you might want to get a degree in your family business. I didn't know why, but we can tell today evident that it was because my father knew that it was going to be me.
It was part of
that
your
was gonna take over.
destiny, really.
I do believe that, because when I was a kid and I was growing up at the print shop on Livernois, I just remember, running around, walking around, talking to all the staff, and just being very friendly and being very curious about what every machine and every equipment did. And I just really love the smell of ink. I really love the feel of paper.
Really?
I did. When I was in a pitch competition back in 2012, I had used this line while I was actually delivering my speech, that my hands have been stained with ink and my eyes have been destined to design. And the crowd went crazy. They went crazy. And it was something that I had just said, because I really do believe that when you grow up in the family business and you take a strong liking to it as a child, that you're more inclined to actually being in the family business when you get older.
Wow.
Yes.
That's funny. My mother was a nurse, and I spent some time at the hospital, even worked there at Summers, and I never wanted to be a nurse.
Got you.
But, you know, certain things you do,
Yeah.
enjoy,
That's true.
and so forth. Now, as far as, well, we must say, I got to give a disclaimer. Janet's late mother, Janet, was my student when I was student teaching. I had just turned 21, like a couple months before. And she was always loquacious, could talk. You hear this, you hear this. And on the last day of student teaching, she gave me this beautiful blouse. And we would talk from time to time before she married your dad, and even after she married, because she got into the business.
She did. She did. Yeah, my mom was just she's a dynamic person. And like you had said, like even just, teaching her. And it was such a pleasure to know that one time when you told me that you taught my mom. And I was like, you taught my mother? Yes. I was like, whoa, that's amazing. And, knowing that my mom is not here physically anymore and she's,
But her spirit is big.
It's so big and it's so here. And there's moments I look myself in the mirror, even though I look directly like my dad.
You do.
Exactly like my dad. I do look in the mirror and I can see a lot of her mannerisms, a lot of her personality. She's very vivacious. Like I'm so glad that her spirit still lives, and I know it does, because there's no way that I could be the woman that I am right now, especially after losing her at such a young age.
Yeah. So you decided. How did you delve into the business?
Right.
Did you do some other things before you got into the business?
Right. So when I was in college, I did have supervision roles while on campus, and I noticed that every time I would try to apply for a job, everybody will always try to give me. They will always automatically try to give me a lead up. I'm like, hey, I'm just coming in for such and such role as a cashier, because I don't know why. When I was a kid, I've always wanted to be a cashier. They're like, well, you have supervision qualities, so would you like to be a supervisor? And I would wonder why every time I applied for something, I would always get elevated. And upon graduating...
Wait, I must say,
yes,
her mother in high school was Miss Everything.
She
was in charge of everything.
She was. And even
Gosh.
outside of school and just in life in general, she was just a very direct person. And as women, it's okay to be that way, because as you can tell, you leave a lasting impression.
Yes.
Right? So while I was in school, I constantly kept getting, supervision roles. And then when I graduated from college, I worked at a really small restaurant for probably not even 3 months. And that's when my dad was like...
What did you do at that restaurant?
I was a server.
Oh, gosh.
Yes.
That's my nightmare job.
Really?
My nightmare job, if you ask me, my nightmare job, it's not digging a ditch. It's not a lot of things. Working in a cleaner's, it's being a server.
Really? Okay. Yeah, I've always wanted to be a server. And some things, when you're young, you just got to get it over with, right? And even when I got hired as a server, he wanted to bring me on as a manager. And I was like, this is crazy. Like, why am I constantly being elevated, even though I'm just trying to come in entry level and just get my feet wet?
Right.
So upon that time, actually, when my dad had told me that they were in the process of closing down the location on Livernois, and he didn't want it to end there, and he had said, you got this degree, you came back, you're living in Detroit, you have a wonderful personality. He's like, it's time. He's like, I think I should hand it over to you. And I was like, all right, you gonna groom me? And he was like, yes. And 8 years later,
Oh,
I'm
by the
sitting
way,
here.
your dad is getting an award
He
tonight.
is. My dad is getting an award tonight with the Michigan Chronicle, Men of Excellence. So he will be amongst some other phenomenal men in Southeast Michigan who have definitely been some great lights in the city of Greater Detroit.
So you've taken where's the company located now?
Yeah, so we're located in Southfield, Michigan, off of Losser and 8 Mile Road, inside of this huge complex called the Southfield Research Park.
Right.
So that's where we actually house both the multimedia company and our magazine.
Okay, so let's talk about that. Are you still doing the printing?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Oh, yeah, absolutely. So right now we're working primarily in 3 phases of printing: digital, offset, and wide format.
Okay, explain.
I know, right? I'm very technical, so sometimes I can't necessarily help myself. So digital printing is when you're printing something technically on demand that requires a quantity of 500 or less. And offset is when we actually use a color press, usually a 4-color press or a 5-color press, and that's to produce work that's more than likely a quantity of 500 and more. So it can be, a large run of campaign literature. It could be, catalogs, souvenir books, technically anything that's going to be passed out to the masses. presses. And even though with digital printing, we can print, upwards to, I don't know, 5,000 at one unit at one time on the unit. But, the price difference is different depending on how fast you need it and how much you want to pay. So I always tell our clients, they're like, hey, I need 500 this by tomorrow. I'm like, okay, this is what the cost is going to be because it's expedited.
Right.
Or if you give us time, we can actually utilize a different printing process to make it more economical for you.
Okay.
And then the other printing process that we work right now in is white format. So white format printing is basically anything larger than a standard sheet of paper almost. So it can be banners, backdrops.
Oh, so you do banners like this?
Yes, actually, retractable banners is actually one of our most popular products. We put on a special for the entire summer called BOGO. So you buy one retractable banner, you get one free.
Really?
Yeah, it's an amazing deal. Or you can buy a retractable banner and get a full color tablecloth free. So it's either or. It's actually the best sale I've ever put on.
Oh.
That I'm like, all right, people, you got to start taking advantage of it because it's going to
Yes,
be gone
yes,
someday
yes,
soon.
yes.
It's so good, I want to buy it for myself and I produce it. It's funny.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. So, but I want to ask about obituaries.
Oh, yes.
Now, that seems to have a quick turnaround.
It does. It does. Memorial programs are one of the most fastest products that we do produce. I don't want to say fastest, but it's a product that we normally produce within 1 to 4 days. We've even had programs we've had to produce in 4 hours.
Really?
Yes, because, and it's common, unfortunately, that we will get called because another printer either dropped the ball, they had a very bad experience with them, they didn't feel appreciated, the designers were not producing the excellence that they were looking forward to producing for their family. So we've gotten programs literally within the 9th hour. I've gotten calls at like 2 o'clock in the morning, literally on my cell phone. Elizabeth, I hate to call you so late because this is like a family friend or someone indirect to the family. They told me that last night the programs did get printed. The service is at 9 a.m. And I will come in and work at 6:30, and I get the program out so that they can have the program for the service. Because when I think about memorial printing, the families are the ones that's coming in to handle it, but I'm more of thinking of the person that passed away. So you put your feelings aside, you put your emotions aside in regards to how much stress it might be, or even sometimes how you might be dealing with a family member who's not so pleasant. It's not my job to, be affected by some circumstances, but to produce, because at the end of the day, it's like you want that person's legacy to look good. And obituaries, and I tell this to my families all the time, is the one item you will keep forever. Think about it, right? When the service, you're spending upwards to $15,000 to $20,000 sometimes, caskets and, flowers and, things for the service. And I'm like, but the obituary, that's something that you should go to a company that truly cares, that's been doing it for a long time. And we have had 100% completion rate. We've never dropped the ball on a program. Never.
Fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I found out that you do more than the printing, more than the program.
Yes.
You're actually doing like hats and
Yes.
and
Yes.
shirts and all that stuff.
So I'm actually in the process of kind of coining myself as like a print guru. I've been studying printing now for 15 years, right? 15 years.
Now, do you do graphic design?
I'm so glad you asked that question, because when we made the business multimedia, it's because we wanted to bring more of a digital concept to the company. And the only way to do that was to ensure that we delivered the digital content before the printing. So we are a full design house and a fully functioning production print company. So we have graphic artists, illustrators, creative designers that are on staff, literally in the office as we speak. I hope they're watching. That's all they do is design, web development, branding, media kits. We are a design house, and I love that because when you come to our office, you can ensure that it's going to get designed and printed correctly. Because we have a lot of clients that come in with artwork that's pre-designed and is not ready for print. So you might go back and forth and you struggle. So we encourage our clients all the time, or if they haven't already came in already wanting us to do design, that we are a functioning design house and we literally deliver excellent work.
Wow, you do
Yes.
books too.
We do.
You
We
publish-
do.
Now, say if a person they've written a book
Yes.
and they've had it proofread, and that's very important to have it proofread.
Proofread or edited, because they're kind of two different things.
Yeah, they are.
We publish. So I am the chief consultant at Maze Multimedia, and I publish books and magazines. So I work directly with creatives, authors, writers, ghostwriters. I even work with publishing consultants that actually do the editing, the proofing, and they might assist in the layout, and then they bring them to us. We will complete the layout, we will do the cover design, and we'll do the printing, both soft cover and hardcover. So I am the chief consultant. So every book that comes in there, I'm handling it. So right now, that's mainly my niche. My niche right now is book and magazine publishing.
Right.
Yes,
right.
and I love it. I absolutely do. Like, I'm actually finishing up 3 books today. One of my clients is Steph and Ty. Have you heard
Oh
of
yes,
Yeah.
of course. I know about that. I know they have a book that's coming.
They have a
out.
book that's coming out today. So they're having a signing tomorrow.
Right.
And we're in the process of it. Everything is in the drying phase right now. So once everything finished drying, the client can pick up their book, and they're going to be having an amazing signing tomorrow, and actually surprise them with like 2 beautiful large posters. So they don't even know they're going to be getting it. But I know that when you have a book signing, you want to market as much as possible, and you want the visibility
Right.
to be available
Right.
within a reach. So we
Right.
printed them some really nice posters as well. So yeah, one of my clients that we're finishing up today is Steph and Ty.
Wow, that's wonderful.
Mm-hmm.
And you have 2 other books coming out.
Yes, well, 2 other books for clients. One is a guy who wrote a self-help book, and then the other client is Fred Wells with I think it's Fred and Sons. It's over there on Livernois. It's a collision shop. He's been in business
Yeah.
for, if I'm not mistaken, 50 years.
So what's this book about?
It's an autobiography about his life and his family. He's got pictures in there with some very recognizable, notable figures. He's got pictures in there from some of the cars that he repaired back in the 1960s. Like, it's a really great book, and we published it already on Father's Day. We finished it before Father's Day, so he was able to give it to his family. And now he actually went for a second run because it became popular both in his church and actually in his company.
Really?
Yep. So
Really?
we're publishing books as minimum as 24. And we've had clients that are like, hey, I don't need 24, we just need 10. We say, okay, we'll do it. But we try to encourage that if you're going to publish a book, you don't want to just publish it just to give it away to 10 people.
Right, right.
You put all that energy, that time, that effort, those resources, that book needs to be produced in at least a quantity of 50, and then you need to come up with a strategy. So I have 2 amazing women that I work with that assist me with post-marketing, Pam Hilliard and also Rosa Worth. So they assist me with experting ways on how to get you on Amazon, how to get you on Ingram Spark. If you're looking to get in bookstores, we work with a number of different bookstores, and I'm actually right now in the process of cultivating another seminar. So last year I partnered up with the Detroit Public Library for an event called How to Write a Book and Get Published. So I worked along with another young lady, and I primarily put the event on, but I worked on with another young lady, and I brought on women like yourself. Remember, you
yeah,
came
I
to
was
the Detroit
there.
Public
Oh, yes, I
Library.
did.
You did. You sat on my panel.
Yes.
Yeah, you sat on the panel. So we actually had, like, we bring authors that come in and talk about their process when it came down to actually producing their book. We talk about inspiration. We talk about outlining. And this time, we're going in the delve. We're literally talking about all 7 stages of book publishing. And when we say 7 stages, it's actually a curriculum that I've composed from everything from the concept down to the creation. So I'm going to be having another book publishing seminar in the next 45 days. And,
well, I'd like
please-
to announce it. I want to know about it.
Absolutely.
Announce it because there's so many. We have so many stories.
Oh, everyone has
so
a story.
many stories.
Everyone has a story. And I was having a conversation, and not to jump off subject, I was talking to a friend, and we were talking about memorial programs. And I told her memorial programs are honestly one of my most loved products to produce, but also sometimes it can be some of my most frustrating. I have families that come into my office, and when they submit the content, the obituary, which is the actual wording, 2 paragraphs. 2 paragraphs. And it makes me a little sad because I know that person lived more than 2 paragraphs.
Yeah.
And I'll ask my client, is there anything else you want to write? And they're like, no, this is it. And I'll say, we're going to talk more. And I sit down with them and I ask them questions, because if we don't start writing and documenting our lives now, we don't know if we're going to be here tomorrow. Our job is to make sure that when we leave here, we leave a legacy. And if you don't create that legacy or have enough information circulating, it's going to be impossible for your family to tell your life like you can. So I encourage everyone
Make
now.
this a legacy building day. I say that a lot.
You do?
I do.
Oh, beautiful.
Make it a legacy building day because you never know. You never know.
You never know. And I actually was looking at my bio yesterday because I'm conscious of that stuff too. You know, I understand that there's life and death. And I was looking at my bio and I was like, I would be pleased if this had to be in my program.
Well, yeah, we all, I've lived considerably longer than you, and I have a bio for this, a bio for that.
And
I have educational bio, a teacher bio,
Ooh.
a theater bio.
You got
know.
everything.
But, because you put your hands in so many things in life.
That's true.
And a lot of times you want your children to know it and know where they came from, know whom they come from.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
That's very, 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 very important.
Absolutely.
And wow, that's interesting because we have so many stories,
We have so
the
many stories.
obituaries, and they just have a little bit there.
2 paragraphs, and then we have to make the font large, and I'm like, this is not right. So we
Right.
actually offer obituary writing services.
Really?
We do. So we have,
Hire me. I'm good.
You're good at this? Really?
I'm really good at
No, this is
obituary
really good to
writing.
know
No,
because-
I've had to do it for people.
Yes, so for my magazine that I
a
own.
job.
Yeah, listen, I am all about making sure that I connect people that I know do what I need, right? So the magazine that I publish, and I only brought one sample with me, unfortunately, it's called Entrepreneur and Executive Magazine, and we tell stories about successful professionals throughout Greater Detroit. Within this company, we have a staff of about 5, on top of what we already produce at Maze Multimedia, and we have a staff of writers literally that are in the office ready to write. So what I've done is I've been able to merge both businesses in order to supply both service and product within both entities. We print our own magazine. We design
Yes.
our own magazine.
Yes.
Maze Multimedia designs and prints this magazine, where I have a separate staff of salespersons, advertising, and also writers and journalists that produce the content for this. So there's no reason why we can't assist with writing. So as we told our clients, we offer memorial writing services. So
Right.
yeah, we do. We
Right,
do.
that's good because a lot of people they don't know how to put it.
They don't know, and that's okay because we're not experts at everything.
No,
Just
I
leave
know.
it up to us.
Everybody doesn't do that, and
Right.
you have to go. Like we were talking with Catriel, you have to go seek help.
You have to
know.
go seek help and
Sometimes
counsel.
you can't figure out everything.
No.
Now with the magazine,
Yes.
now when's another one coming? It comes out quarterly.
Yeah, no. So we were in the process of quarterly. Now we actually do issue-based themes.
Oh,
I mean,
okay.
theme-based issues. So the issue that we literally are in the process of wrapping up is our Women of Influence, Power, and Leadership. So that particular issue, we are telling stories about some phenomenal women in business over multiple sectors: entertainment, food and beverage, banking, nonprofit. We got wonderful women like Bina Elliott that's in this issue. So I absolutely love her. Ping Ho, she's in the food and beverage industry. Aislinn Coachman, and these are samples of the women
Yes.
that we're featuring.
Yes.
And I'm extremely proud of that issue because that's something I've been wanting to do now for almost 2 years.
I kind of want to deviate just a little bit.
Sure.
You just came back from Europe,
I did come back from Europe. I did. Africa and Europe.
Africa and Europe.
I did.
What did you do?
Yeah, so I went down, and I'm so glad you asked that because sometimes I forget everything that I do. I was in Africa at the end of January, the beginning of February, and I went to go speak at the U.S. Embassy. So they brought me on to speak for their Black History program as their opening reception.
Really?
Yes.
So what did you talk about?
I did. I talked about entrepreneurship. I talked about running a generational company. I talked about being Black in America, especially as a woman, especially in a male-dominated white society. And I really talked to them in regards to, like, what is it like running a business in America, especially, as a millennial. And I had a beautiful crowd in the room. I was talking to ambassadors, FBI employees, embassy employees. Like, it was definitely a well-diverse range. So while I was down there, Brenda, I was down there for one speaking engagement. While I was there, I got booked for 5 more.
Oh, my
so I left
goodness.
with 6 speaking engagements while I was in Cairo, Egypt.
Really?
I was in Cairo, Egypt, yes. And then I
Really?
just got back from Europe, but that was me having fun.
I
That was
know.
me just being Elizabeth.
And you were backpacking too.
I was backpacking up and down the Italy. So I went from Venice to Florence to Pisa to Rome to the Amalfi Coast to Pompeii to Sorrento. I had a great time.
I followed you. That's one of the good things about social media is
Yes.
being able to follow people and their adventures. And I have a saying,
Yes.
the adventure is in the journey.
Ooh.
But my other
Very
saying
true.
that I love is, the world is my playground.
I saw that. I like that
For
one.
some people, the playground is their world. And that's not it for you.
Wow.
The world is your
The
playground.
world is my playground.
And you have to get a perspective of what else is going on in the world. This is a
Oh,
global
absolutely.
society, right?
Very much global society. Some of the people that you don't even know are doing in business outside of the U.S., and that's actually where it's at right now. We live in a world where there's so much access to technology and access to being able to communicate with someone in real time. That's all the way out in Afghanistan, or they might be in Europe, or they might be in, Cape Town. So I'm not even, shorting myself in any capacity, because if my mom was here, she would definitely be encouraging me to constantly travel abroad, because that's what she did.
Yes, that you are her daughter in so many ways.
Yes.
So let's quickly go over everything that we've been talking about.
Sure.
Not only, it used to be Mays Printing over on Livernois, but
No.
they're bigger now.
We're bigger now.
Livernois is no more.
Never knows no more. No. We're now in Southfield, Michigan. My name is Elizabeth Mays. I'm the president and CEO of Mays Multimedia, and I am the editor-in-chief of Entrepreneur and Executive Magazine. If you want to find us, the most easiest way is actually to go to my personal website, which is super easy, which is missmays.com. That's MSMAYS.com, missmays.com. And on there, it talks about me being an international speaker, a business strategist, and also an executive. And on there has our links to our websites for Mays Multimedia and Entrepreneur and Executive Magazine. And if you will, please follow my website, because I'm also going to be sharing information in regards to the book publishing seminar that I'm going to be putting on to basically motivate, educate, and keep people inspired in regards to publishing their book or their magazine.
It's so important as far as, I know a lot of people who tell me they're writing books and so forth, but to have an editor
Yes.
is so, and I've had several editors on this show to talk about the necessity, because once a person picks up your book and it's hard to read because sentence structure is bad, so forth, it doesn't have subject-verb agreement, all that.
Right. They get distracted.
They get distracted
And they actually get
put it down.
disappointed, because when you
Yeah.
pay money for something that you are looking to enjoy to read, whether it's fictitious or whether it's actually a biography, editing is extremely important. So if you can take the time, do it.
Yes.
Especially if it's
And
a
you
book that
do
you're trying to keep up.
hardcover and
We
softcover.
do hardcover, soft cover. We do full color wrap. We do coil bind.
What's full color wrap?
So, like textbooks where it actually has a full color
Yeah.
graphic that's actually adhered to it. We do
Right,
that. And then
right.
hardcover is usually case
Wow.
bound. And then we do soft cover. And then with our soft cover, we offer 3 different types of coating. Soft touch, which is very smooth like suede. We offer a gloss. And then we also offer a matte lamination. So the matte lamination gives
All
you
right
that matte
now.
feel. So when you
All
think
right.
about printing, you should be thinking about Mays. That's all I'm saying.
Thank you so much. And everyone, we have a special table talk on today. We have the super songstress, Miss Kimmy Horn, to talk about her jazz festival that's coming up next weekend.
Nice.
And we have Dr. Portia Lockett.
Love her too.
Oh, love her. You'll be inspired in so many ways.
So many
So
ways.
stay tuned. We'll be back in just a moment.
Thank you, Miss Perry.